Okay, so hopefully you read through the definitions. The first definition is aptness. A belief is apt for someone at a given time, just if it is cognitively justified for him at that time. So you have certain beliefs. Among those beliefs, you have some that are justified, at least for you right now, justification for believing them. This is going to be important. In a moment, we're going to start asking about whether, well, maybe coherence is fundamental for beliefs to be apt. That is, that you cannot be justified in believing something incoherent. That's a question we're going to ask in a moment. For the moment, he's just going to talk, though, about aptness. A belief is apt when it's justified for you at a particular time. A belief is ostensibly validated if, when you hold it, you haven't made any errors. Okay. Now, some beliefs are, in fact, apt without being ostensibly validated. Sometimes you hold beliefs without having made any error in getting there, partly just because you didn't actually reason to them in the first place. You just believe them. You didn't get there by like thinking through something, right? Like that's not like, so when I look at my hand is here in front of me, see it, you can see it too now. I believe it's there. It's not by some reasoning process. I didn't like think through things and like reflect on how my experience was like presenting itself to me and then come to the conclusion like, yes, in virtue of all this evidence, I decide to believe there's a hand here. No, I just believe there's a hand here. That belief is apt. Is it ostensibly validated? I mean, maybe, probably not. I didn't reason to get there. So it's not, it just seems like it's incorrect to say that let's see here, I ostensibly reason correctly to get there. Okay, so what we're going to worry about is whether coherence is fundamental for validation, and then whether coherence is fundamental for aptness. And the second question is going to take us a little longer. Okay, so to talk about the first thing, he actually thinks about like reflecting on epistemology as a task. Okay, and part of the thing that Sosa wants to be clear about is that epistemology is like, so there's the study of like what does it take to be justified. Like the reason that we're interested in asking this question is because we're looking for coherence. We want our beliefs to sort of have a certain coherence to them. And some people come along and point out like, hey, you say you believe this, you say you even know this, but it seems like I can challenge it in certain ways. That is, some people come along with a certain type of skepticism. And that skepticism presents sort of like a tension or an incoherence within my body of beliefs, because I believe all the things the skeptic says, but I also believe I have knowledge. So then I embark on doing epistemology, largely as a result of my drive to have coherence in my set of beliefs. Okay. Now, just because coherence underlies the credibility of epistemic principles, that is, when I say like, I think knowledge is justified true belief or something like that, I may in fact in part justify my adoption of certain epistemic principles on the basis of their coherence. That doesn't mean that coherence somehow underlies all of my beliefs about the world. Okay, and he calls this a crude mistake, but I think it's a fairly sophisticated mistake, and you should take a moment to make sure you understand this, but I'm not going to stop the video here and give you that moment. You should just do it on your own. Okay, so the question we're asking at this point in the paper is coherence fundamental for aptness? Okay, that is, do you have to have coherence in order to have a justified belief? And Sosa says that the earlier exchange with the coherentist, one of your quiz questions is, what exchange is he talking about there? You'll probably be able to figure it out by watching this video. Yielded the need for coherentism to require not only the coherence and comprehensive of a worldview, but also that the subject who holds that view place himself within it at a time in question with awareness of both his own beliefs and the possible means of intellectual access to himself and the world around him at that time and in the past. This is a horrifying sentence. You should never commit the sin of writing a sentence this awful in one of your papers. Sosa should never have committed this sin. That was a terrifyingly bad sentence that should have been broken into like 12 little sentences. Be that as it may, the point is that we had this perspectival coherentism we were talking about, where what mattered for a belief to be justified was not just that it be coherent, but that it be coherent with a certain type of body of beliefs. And that type of body of beliefs has to be like this sort of fairly complete worldview together with beliefs about where the subject is located in that world, and beliefs about their first order beliefs, beliefs about their beliefs about the world. Okay. And he's just reminding you that the coherence and comprehensiveness of a worldview that didn't have all of that extra junk tacked on top of it wouldn't be enough to be even to be a source of knowledge or even apt belief. Okay, so we're talking about this perspectival coherentism. Why are we talking about it again? Well, because we're trying to see whether coherence would be fundamental for aptness. Okay, let's see here. And so if we are perspectival coherentists, the reliability of my reliable beliefs is epistemically effectual. That is, it like does what it needs to give me knowledge, just if I recognize that reliability. And when I recognize that reliability, that's coherent with my bigger view. So according to the perspectival coherentist, coherence is what justifies. It's a certain type of coherence. So if the perspectival coherentist wants to say that reliability is playing any sort of role, it has to be that sort of role. That is, it has to be a role within one of these like sort of coherent pictures of the world that's self-reflective. Okay, but that does seem like it works. It seems like it might work. So the coherentist can say like, yeah, I can make room for reliability. It's just that what makes reliability epistemically effective is that it's coherent in the right way. Okay. Now, the game next is to say like, can the reliabilist get back at this in any way? And we're going to examine that in the next video.